We are following that new poll, which by the Des Moines Register newspaper is shaking up the Republican race. CBS News political correspondent Jan Crawford is in Waterloo, Iowa, with more on the Bachmann surge. Good morning, Jan.
Well, good morning, Rebecca. You know, Bachmann's advisors told me they thought she would do pretty well in this poll. She's already got some momentum here. But to have her right up there, neck and neck with frontrunner Mitt Romney, came as a surprise even to them. She hasn't even started her campaign yet. It will give her a real boost. She's the face of the Tea Party, an outsider unafraid to take on the establishment. But surrounded by her family last night in the small town of Waterloo, Iowa, Michele Bachmann also was something else, a hometown girl who could be president.
I am going to announce that I'm running for the presidency of the United States of America.
Thanks to her strong showing in the last Republican debate, a couple high-profile interviews on the Sunday talk shows, and the new Des Moines Register poll, there's now another way to describe Michele Bachmann here in Iowa, a frontrunner for the GOP nomination. In the poll of likely Iowa caucus goers, Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney is atop the Republican field with 23%, but he's in a statistical dead heat with Bachmann at 22%. Bachmann was expected to do well in Iowa. She was born here in Waterloo. But the question is whether this queen of the Tea Party can attract a wide base of support across the Republican Party. A former tax attorney, Bachmann is sharply critical of Barack Obama, and she kept it up on Sunday's Face the Nation.
This is the Obama deficit, Obama debt, due to Obama spending.
A mother of 5 who also helped raise 23 foster children, Bachmann's frustration with local education policy led her into politics. She is unapologetically conservative on social issues. She opposes abortion and as a state senator led the fight against gay marriage. As a presidential candidate, she will be under a microscope and already is feeling some heat.
A person who may have been on the record as saying he favored same-sex marriage, you wouldn't disqualify that person for nominating them to the Supreme Court.
My primary test will be the Constitution. They need to be a strong constitutionalist and recognize that just as the justices should not act outside of the bounds, neither should the Congress, neither should the president.
I have to say I don't think you answered the question, but I'll go on.
Well, no, if you want to go further, we will.
Now, at this event last night, Bachmann was surrounded by her children, her family, her mother. There were about 600 people there, and I talked to a lot of them afterward, and the word they used over and over to describe Michele Bachmann was genuine. They are sick of Washington. They're sick of politicians. They think they say one thing and do something else, and they see Michele Bachmann as someone who's going to do what she believes. Rebecca?
Jan, hang with us here a moment. We also want to bring in CBS News political analyst John Dickerson, who is in Washington, joining us. Good morning, John. Great to have you with us. And what's basically a big surprise out of all of this is just how close Bachmann and Mitt Romney are in this poll. What does it say about Mitt Romney's standing within the GOP?
Well, Iowa is a particular case. There are a lot of social conservatives in Iowa, and what this tells us is how it's shaking out at this moment in Iowa. Romney is trying to play in a lot of different states. He hasn't campaigned particularly hard in Iowa. So what this shows us is he's run before. He's got some people there who still like him. The question is whether this is a high watermark for him. If his numbers start slipping, his opponents can argue, look, what's happening in Iowa is part of a larger weakness of Mitt Romney, and try and make a larger case about that.
Yeah, he's basically written off Iowa at this point. Jan, how does that play with voters there?
Well, they're obviously the ones I talked to last night would put Mitt Romney in that camp of candidates who kind of say what they think the voters want to hear. So you're seeing already, I think, in Iowa, a real shift to someone like a Michele Bachmann. As John said, obviously it is early, but remember, we haven't even had the Ames straw poll. That will be next month. There will be a lot of publicity for that. So Republican strategists that I've been talking to say they believe that Romney's numbers will just slip. And as the presumptive frontrunner, the national frontrunner, he really can't afford to go way down to the bottom of that pack. Obviously, he's not expecting to win Iowa, but he doesn't want to come, bringing up the rear either.
John, clearly this is not the news that the Pawlenty Group wanted to hear out of Iowa. How significant do you think this will be to his campaign and his success and strength going forward?
Well, the Pawlenty camp has to hope that this poll is as useful as the one in 2007 that showed Mike Huckabee, who went on to win the caucuses, at 4%. Voters haven't written off Tim Pawlenty by any stretch, and we'll see this go up and down But what they have to worry about in the short term is two things. One, they're trying to raise money. Candidates need to live and they need to have organizations, and that all requires big checks. And so Tim Pawlenty has to make the case, and his fundraisers have to make the case on the phone that he's a contender. This kind of poll number makes that harder. And also in terms of getting supporters to line up behind him. And it also challenges their strategy. You know, it's always a test with campaigns whether to stick to the strategy, your long-term strategy, or shake things up in the middle. And so they have to decide whether to change course here or stick to the strategy. And that can always cause campaigns a little bit of heartburn.
Jan, John brings up this whole point about the money being an issue for Pawlenty, and we're hearing today insiders saying that the struggles for the Pawlenty camp to raise money have been growing for weeks.
That's right, and I'm hearing that here on the ground in Iowa as well, where he has spent a lot of money on staff and a lot of time. So as John indicates, what people here are saying too is that, you know, this really could hurt his momentum to try to build that donor base and continue those fundraising efforts. That's why some of these early poll numbers can be so important, not because they'll predict the eventual winner, but it's the momentum factor. And let me tell you, Rebecca, if anyone's got momentum in Iowa right now, it is Michele Bachmann.
CBS's Jan Crawford and John Dickerson, thanks so much for joining both of us.